Previously on the Psychology of Entrepreneurship.
And what I find Clubhouse is so brilliant at is that you can really reach out and make connections with people.
One of the awesome things about Clubhouse is that it is expected. It is just the culture here that you have conversations outside of the app. And that is for the biggest reason, because there's no messaging function on this app.
Why is your favorite celebrity chef rich and famous? The answer is because they give away their recipes 24/7, 7 days a week.
It's nefarious, man. Like, the brain works in fucked up ways.
The mind is one of the most deceiving, manipulative pieces of equipment, flesh, human bodies on earth. I never have trusted my brain.
All of that weight lives in your head, and you are the decision maker.
Psychology of Entrepreneurship.
Hi, it's Ronsley. If this is your first volume, welcome. This is a weekly series where I go inside the mind of an entrepreneur, artist, athlete, academic to decipher what is the psychology of our decisions. I'm Australian and I'd like to acknowledge our traditional custodians of country where I live and work. I pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and acknowledge our continuous connection and contribution to land, sea, and community. Today's topic is a popular one with entrepreneurs, and I'm also going to host another campfire on Clubhouse about saying no. So if you are on Clubhouse, join us, join the club, the Psychology of Entrepreneurship, join me, and you can follow me at Ronsley because I host a room every week. Definitely every week. So join us. Also rate and review us, by the way, because we want to get found more. This show has been a labor of love for the last 2-3 years. And if you like it, which a lot of people tell me they do, I would love for more people to find out about it. So give us a rating and a review that helps us being found. But today's show is about saying no. And we start with Kylie Ryan and with Dufey. And we're talking about saying no too much and how that can damage a relationship if the whys behind it are not really assessed first. Actually, Dufey, he chimes in with a reframing idea that is just gold for anyone who feels that they have to say no a lot. Apart from that, we have an audience member chime in with a great strategy that she uses with her kids. But first, this is Kylie Ryan.
Funny, actually, when can you say no too much? And I just, it's really, really, really rainy here in Sydney. And so yesterday, Sunday, hanging out with my daughter, I'd gone out for breakfast with friends and I came back and we were watching a movie and my daughter loves to roll just straight from one movie into the next so that we don't notice. And so we went straight from Pitch Perfect 2 into Yes Day, and that film that I didn't know anything about it, but it's about apparently this parent that had just said no, and when you are a parent, there is so oh my God, you just see so many problems and mistakes and accidents waiting to happen. And so sometimes as a parent, you feel like you're constantly saying no to your kids. And I love this idea of, it's a little bit left field, but I love that idea of being able to, have a day where you just throw caution to the wind and just say yes to everything that your kids ask. So I think when you're thinking about when can you say no too much or get kind of curmudgeonly, I think it's in relationship to someone else and someone else asking for something. And so if there's someone that you care about that is asking you things like a child or a parent or a close friend, and you're constantly saying no, then, that's something to consider, Am I just saying no out of habit? Am I genuinely, do I need to say no here? Am I showing this person that I don't value them or I don't value their contributions or their suggestions if I'm saying no all the time? So, there are times where saying no too much can damage your relationship. And that's something to be mindful of. Interested as well to hear other parents and how they navigate this. I know that I can say no a lot and then I'll be like, stuff it. Let's yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's have fun. And so sometimes it can be like the difference between being the kind of the wise parent that's avoiding danger and then the fun parent that just goes and does, fun things with your kids. So that was a little piece I wanted to add into the mix.
I love that you bring that up, Kylie. I think especially as a parent, like I look at my 3 girls and I'm like, I never want to say no. And so there's a couple of things to me is like, one is actually like reframing the wording that I found hopefully could be useful. So like instead of saying like no running, that's really wet, you could like really fall over, crack your skull open. It could be like, so instead of saying no running, saying use your walking feet. So it's kind of like first like reframing the actual words being used with it. But then also it was like yesterday, the only actual show that we watch, and we don't actually have a TV, so we have to sit in my office together with my 3 daughters to watch it, is the Great British Baking Show. I love it. I think it's like the best thing ever. I'm so into it. And that's actually really spawned us cooking together as well. So like my daughter came up and she was like, hey, can we watch the Great British Baking Show today and make some coconut ruffs? And I was like, hells yeah, like let's do it. I was like, and I was totally in that mood of not wanting to say no because I just want to like say yes. I want to be the fun dad as well, and I don't want to be the one saying no to everything. So I think there is a beautiful dance between that because at the same time I want to take care of them. I want them to be set up, but on the other side, I want them to be able to learn consequences and us being able to have as much fun as possible as well. Because that is literally something I said to my wife this morning. I said, we're not having enough fun. And I think that is a beautiful kind of like me being in the actual thick of it right now because I want us to be able to have more fun and saying yes to more things, I think is a great way to be able to get that ball rolling.
I'm super kind of tuned into this conversation of, saying no to kids and finding the balance between fun versus safety and responsibility. And one thing I've tried is inviting children to come around and themselves reframe it. So if they ask for something that to me is a no, I might say, how about instead ask me a question that I can say yes to? So, can we jump off of this? Can I paint? Can I put finger paint in my hair? Like, well, the answer is no, but can you think of a question that I could say yes to? Also in terms of timing, trying something like, well, the answer is no right now because we're brushing our teeth, we're getting ready for bed. But if you ask me tomorrow, or let's write it down and ask me again tomorrow morning, tomorrow's a weekend, then we probably can. So that's, this is like my limited experience where I've had a tiny bit of success with this, but it's definitely super hard. And I definitely find myself saying no more than, I wonder, am I saying no too much? But with those two little tools I've found have been a way to at least put the ball or a little bit of power back in their hands, and then they can try to be persuasive or be savvy about asking or just strategic about timing, and then giving them some tools to be a little bit empowered in that way instead of me just having all the power.
According to an article in Psychology Today, the word no is both the tool and the barrier by which we establish and maintain the distinct perimeter of oneself. In other words, no is the key to setting our own rules. Saying no says this is who I am, this is what I value, this is what I will and will not do, and this is how I will choose to act. We love others, we give to others, and we cooperate with others. But we are, at core, distinct and separate from everyone else. We need the word and the act of no to carve out and support that space that is ours and ours alone.
Holly Shannon joined us to share her ideas about saying yes and how it opens a world of opportunities, but that we also need to have boundaries and we need to have balance. And then Anna Vocino chimed in about pitching ideas and how to take feedback. But first, here's Holly.
It's really interesting whole conversation because, I'm drawn to, Shonda Rhimes wrote that book, A Year of Yes. And I feel like, there's this part of me that loves the idea of a year of yes, saying yes to everything that comes across my path. And there was also a book written, and I've forgotten the gentleman's name, but it's called Yes Man. And he also kind of did the same exercise. And by saying yes to everything, you really open up a world of opportunity, right? Like you don't know what's going to come in front of you, but if somebody asks you to do something, you automatically say yes. And then maybe, you are exposed to something exponential, something really incredible, something that you never would have stepped foot in. The flip side of the art and science of saying no is that you create boundaries and you protect yourself, and you don't, you create, although I don't believe this term exists, but work-life balance, right? Like you say no because by saying no, you protect your space, your time, your bandwidth. So, I'm wondering, maybe Shonda Rhimes should write a book, my year of saying no. See, does that give her back that time to be introspective, to be about the self, to meditate, to journal, to sort of go more inward? So it's really kind of cool, Ronsley. I just love your Psychology of Entrepreneurship, but like there's an art and science of saying no, and there's an art and science of saying yes. And I'm not sure that any of us have nailed the art or the science. Anyway, my name's Holly. Thank you for listening.
Oh, hi. I'll chime in about, thank you, Holly. That was awesome. People pitching ideas, it's always a tightrope walk, because you don't want to, especially if you've ever worked in writers' rooms or I have a group of comics that we all get together, and now it's over Zoom, and we pitch jokes and we help each other. And sometimes somebody's just going to pitch a joke that's not in your voice, and it's amazing and it's hilarious and it's a great punch up. And you just have to kind of like learn a way of saying, thank you. That's awesome. Thank you. That's great. And you don't necessarily have to use it. That's the thing is, that the art is, you want to be polite and encouraging and keep people brainstorming, keep people spitballing, obviously without squashing their creative genius. But also like, as far as like people asking you to do things that's going to impede onto your time, I always like to, well, first of all, if it's coming through somebody that I know or a friend of a friend, I will always give it more credibility, not credibility, but more credence. I say, I would take that request more seriously and more under advisement, as opposed to just a complete stranger who writes me. And, somebody wrote me from a random PR company needing this, that, and the other thing. And it had no bearing to my brand. Like, I like AnnaVocino.com, the recipe where you made this, and it's just the most recent recipe that I printed. It's like, that looks amazing. Like, you can just tell they don't give it any thought. That's really easy to say no to. We all know how to say no to that. But when it is coming through a friend or a business colleague, I can't say no to Ronsley, you guys. I cannot say no to him. I feel like a major asshole when I do.
I had to get Anna to elaborate, and she did, followed by a couple of incredible gentlemen from the audience that joined us and gave us a bunch of phenomenal examples on how to say no. But before that, here's Anna.
It's funny because there's been a lot of, because I'm so apt to say hell yes to almost everything, there have been some times where I didn't even realize that I was allowing boundaries to be trod upon. So there have been times where I've had to speak up and establish some boundaries. And it's interesting because people who I thought were friends and would respect my boundaries have gone away. And people who I just was so scared to talk to did respect my boundaries, and we've grown closer because of it. So I think these conversations are always really good to have, especially when it's somebody you work. I'm assuming, by the way, this is someone you're working closely with. It might not be. It might just be a work colleague that you've become entangled with, and you need to kind of disentangle, which I can completely 100% appreciate and respect. But for me, it's about every time I say yes or no, whatever the decision is, I know I'm going to learn something from it. And by the way, if you say no to something and you say no to someone and you don't want to work with them, you can always go back and revisit it. I think that's the thing that we forget. Like, we feel like everything is permanent. Like, it's not, nothing is a breakup. Nothing is a permanent no. Unless like there's some major opportunity that you're like, no, I'm passing on it. But again, you have to know that you're choosing something else. So you're not letting go something. And it never was yours to begin with if it was not something that resonates. I guess these are all things that I tell myself to make decisions, but hopefully it's of service.
Got 3 quick suggestions on saying no. Number 1, my mother was spectacular at it. I would ask her a question, Mom, would you do so-and-so? She would say, if you need to know right now, The answer is no. If you can wait, the answer might be yes. Brilliant. End of discussion. Number 2, I have a TEDx coaching client who is speaking on human caregiver syndrome. And what that is you always put everybody's needs before yours, so you rarely say no to anybody. And the tagline for her is, it's not what you know, it's not even who you know, it's to whom you say no to be healthy. And finally, I'm past 57, I'm 64. And I've gotten to the point where I have no problem saying no. A buddy of mine said, want to go see Riverdance? I said, no. He goes, well, that's a little harsh. Why didn't you just say I was busy? Because if they come back to town, you're going to ask me again. We're going to be right back where we started. I'm 64. I haven't got that much time, so I'm not going to dance around. No. No is a very short sentence and paragraph. No. So those are my 3 tips on saying no.
One thing I thought I'd add to the conversation is, if there's going to be some people where you can say a definite no, and you can decline straight away, and those are the easy no's. But then, when I was listening to conversation, there will always be those harder no's, where there's an opportunity that might sound tempting, or it's from someone that you know fairly well, and so one tactic I've used is what I call compliment, no compliment, and I found that always goes down well in terms of continuing to maintain a healthy relationship, but also being clear in the no. Just as a very quick example, you could say something like, thank you for your very kind offer and invitation. However, it's not something that I can do at this moment because of the schedule I have, but please know how honored I am to have been asked.
Psychology of Entrepreneurship.
Our aim with this audio documentary has always been to build a strong community of entrepreneurs and creatives to provide a space where they can use their voice to share their authenticity with the world. As a valued listener, your voice matters too. We love to hear your feedback and ideas, so don't be shy to let us know how we're doing in the ratings and comments. If you have a message for our production team or know someone who would be a perfect fit as a guest, you can find out more information on how to share your input at psychologyoфentrepreneurship.com.
What if there was a way you could rewire your psychology to make better decisions? How many times a day do you say yes or no to stuff? By the way, if you say yes to something, you say no to a lot of other things because you said yes to that one thing. And, vice versa too. If you say no to something, you say yes to a lot of other things. So what if you could make better decisions with saying yes or no by listening to a piece of conversation? This piece of conversation is between 3 people who are trying to help someone go into a difficult conversation. This is that piece right here. We start with Anna Vocino again.
People pleasing and caring what others think. And we all deal with it. We all have that thing. We don't want to let anybody down. As somebody who's hired a lot of people, I want my workers to feel empowered. And ideally, I would love to find somebody who I could pay gobs of money to, who would help me build my business, but they don't have any ownership. Isn't that like the brass ring of somebody, of what a worker is defined as? A really great worker, right? But you're in this room, and we're all in this room because we all want to build our own things. And so you're going to bump up against that. And anybody who has hired anybody knows that anybody who's any good, you have a limited amount of time to work with them. It's not going to be a surprise to anybody when somebody who absolutely kicks ass for you is ready to move on and build their own thing. It's not a shock. In fact, that's part of the process. Go. You now are released into the world. Go do your thing. And so there becomes a thing of like, am I going to be disappointing people by saying no? Are they going to like me less? Are they going to respect me less? And maybe it's because I don't know. Something happened with me once I turned 40 and now I'm 47 where I'm like, I don't care anymore It's kind of a nice thing, but you get to define when you're ready to do that. And Terry, I'm not necessarily speaking to you. I'm just speaking to everybody, because we've all had those feelings of like, I don't want to let down somebody who gave me a good opportunity. But trust me, the person who gave you the opportunity, if you fulfilled your side of the obligation, they know that you're ready to now move on and do your own thing, because it's just part of how it all, the circle of life.
The quality of our life comes down to the amount of hard conversations that we're willing to have. It wasn't that long ago, I just came to this massive realization where I was like, you know what? I'm going into every conversation open with love and just being able to bear all with it. And it has been a dramatic change in my life, being able to have hard conversations that really aren't that hard, to be perfectly honest, because it also sounds like you're making a lot of assumptions as to what someone else is thinking, which is impossible at the end of the day. So I think just going to him and just be like, yo, dude, this is what I want. This is what's happening. Do you mean like, how can we work this out? And I think from the flip side, like recently, I actually had a key team member leave because his thing was going so well. And I say to every single one of my team members, when they're getting onboarded, I ask them the question, I go, you being your most selfish self, what is it that you want, and how do us as a company best set you up for that? And I have team members, a part of us, that they want to learn how to be able to grow and scale a successful business, and they want to be able to be a part of this ecosystem to learn that. And I'm like, fantastic. So I know they're going through it. There's also other team members that they're getting a slice of the pie of the company, because I think, Anna, what you said before was so true. To me, we have a finite amount of time when we are playing with A players, and I want to be able to lock those A players in. And so by giving them, Jimmy, a part of the pie, that's a way to be able to do that. But I think, Terry, Jimmy, schedule a conversation right now with him, send him a message, book in a time, and just go into that conversation, because every single time I've gone into a conversation of just being like, oh my God, and I think I'm really scared. What could happen? I don't want this guy to blow up. He's done such amazing things for me. I think if you're just open and honest, I think it's going to work out for the good.
I've got one little piece to just tag on from what Chris has said, of like having that deep, honest, transparent conversation. One little piece that can help with the balance is thinking physiologically. If I go into this conversation, open heart and a strong spine, so you can care and be empathetic and honest, transparent, but also having that strong spine to stand up for what you care about, your values, what you need, and where you're headed.
Setting boundaries in your personal and professional life can be challenging. Our society puts so much emphasis on working hard, hustling, and sacrificing your personal life in order to be successful. But according to psychologists, boundaries are imperative for mental health. The worldwide trend of working at home due to the pandemic has made that even more clear. A group of mental health professionals spoke to CNBC about the 4 steps they say are crucial in setting professional boundaries. Number 1, reflect on what you really want or need. Be sure you know what is best for you. Number 2, be transparent in your explanations. Be honest and explain why you need to say no. And number 3, come with solutions in mind. If you offer ideas and brainstorm on how the other party can still get what they need without compromising your boundaries, everybody wins.
We had to wind this conversation up with boundaries because that was a really important topic. This is a lady from the audience that talks about how saying no to ourselves can drain our own energy and can be a reflex of our cultural and social backgrounds. And it's our responsibility to actually set boundaries for ourselves, and communicate those boundaries is also the biggest form of self-respect. So this is her talking about boundaries.
And I just wanted to add some words, or I guess value, from a former people pleaser that was never able to say no to anybody. One thing I realized over the years was that by saying no to myself, not others, I drained my own energy, you know? And in a lot of cultures, like in ethnic cultures, we are raised to be more community-focused, family-focused people. And I think that's why I had a lot of problems saying no to people, because I wanted to, help people. I cared about other people more than I did for myself. But over time, I started resenting these people that I couldn't say no to because I put their needs before mine. And that was something I really hated, because the people I was resenting was my family. And I realized if I kept putting them first, the relationship between us was going to be tainted even further. And I also realized that I couldn't pour from an empty cup when I drained my own energy. Although I wanted to be there for my family and my friends or my community, when I was there, I wasn't fully present, or I didn't have the energy. I couldn't contribute as much as I would have liked to. So I think that's something that really kind of changed my perspective with saying no and saying yes to myself. And I want to share another story as well, which is a very recent thing that happened with a friend of mine. We've been friends for about 3 years and had a bit of an argument a couple of weeks ago. And when we sat down to have a chat to solve the issues out, she mentioned something about our friendship being a one-sided friendship, that everything was on my terms. And that was really surprising because that was never my intention. But after further communicating, we've realized that because I used to be a people pleaser, and because of that experience, now I set my boundaries very clearly and I communicate them very upfront. I want this, I don't want that. No, yes. And she is not like that. So over time, she felt like everything we did or everything we talked about was about me or my needs, when in reality, she never let me know there were things she was uncomfortable with. And because I wasn't aware, and everybody's different. My boundaries, my values are different to yours, different to Kyle's, different to Holly, Jordan, Terry, Ronsley, Anna, Frank, Simon. So I ended up hurting one of my closest friends without even realizing, because I don't want to, put it all on her, but partly it's because she was unable to say no to me or set that boundary. So that is another thing that I wanted to share with everybody. It is your responsibility to set that boundary for yourself. You cannot blame other people for the boundaries you didn't set or you didn't communicate. And if they still don't respect your boundaries, that says a lot about them. But if you don't set them, it says a lot about you, how much you respect yourself, and people will definitely follow your footsteps based on your self-respect.
Psychology of Entrepreneurship.
Coming up on the Psychology of Entrepreneurship.
Many women see negotiation as something that's more natural for men than for them.
So I have this book called Why Cope When You Can Heal, and I've introduced to the world this method called surgical empathy, which means when you go to where the other person is coming from and they feel you're there, they lean towards you.
In the work I do, the value I'm seeking to add is not to tell people what to do, but to show them different tools that they have that they can use to resolve things for themselves.
Psychology of Entrepreneurship.
That conversation has been a little slice of heaven. So we're going to do more of those. And if you're interested to hear them live and join us live, and we would love to hear your voice in whatever capacity it allows us to, please follow the Psychology of Entrepreneurship Club on Clubhouse, and also follow me at Ronsley. It would be amazing to get you on and get your perspective on different things. In the meantime, go have fun.
Psychology of Entrepreneurship.
This is a Must Amplify production. Special thanks to every guest expert that has appeared on the show. Editing, voiceovers, and sound design by Kaylee Bonnyman and Tiago Vega. Guest research by Jenna Elliott. Content by Corinne Castles. Project managed by the legend that is Kaylee Bonnyman. Produced and hosted by me, Ronsley Vaz. For more episodes and way to listen, go to mustamplify.com/POE.
Love the polished audio docuseries style of this podcast, The Psychology of Entrepreneurship? At We Are Podcast, you can learn how to create a similar style for your own show. This revolutionary virtual event assembles podcasters, entrepreneurs, and marketers in one spot, so you're able to learn from the masters. Head straight to wearepodcast.com to reserve your spot at our next event.